Buried beneath Mars, the ancient human ship that defied the galaxy Part 1, the red dust of Mars never stopped moving. It swirled in slow eddies across the canyon floor, kicked up by the thin wind that barely whispered through the deep cracks of Valles Marineris. Lila Grant stood near the edge of a newly dug trench, her boots sinking slightly into the rust-colored soil. She adjusted her visor with a gloved hand and squinted at the readout on her wrist scanner. Something was wrong. Or rather, something was very right. But impossible. Deep below her feet, buried under layers of rock and time, a signal pulsed. Not a natural one. Not a glitch. It was steady, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat, and it was made of metal. Lila was not a soldier. She was a scientist. A xenogeologist with the Terran Survey Corps, sent to Mars to study underground water traces and ancient riverbeds. Her job was quiet, methodical, and safe. Or it had been. Until 3 days ago, when her deep core drill hit something that should not exist. The drill bit had shattered on contact. Not bent, not dulled. Shattered. Into pieces so fine they looked like glitter under the work lights. The alloy it struck registered no match in any known database. Not human, not alien, not even theoretical. It was smooth, dark, and cold to the thermal sensors, and it hummed. She called Mara Ellis. Mara arrived 2 hours later in a dust-caked skimmer, her uniform crisp despite the journey. She was captain of the Martian Defense Patrol, but she and Lila had been friends since academy days. Mara trusted Lila's instincts, and right now Lila's eyes were wide with something between fear and wonder. "Show me," Mara said, stepping out into the thin air. Lila led her to the trench. They stood over the breach, helmets on, breath fogging the inside of their visors. Below, in the torn-open earth, a curved surface gleamed faintly under the portable lamps. It was black, but not like obsidian. It drank the light, yet gave back a soft silver shimmer when viewed from certain angles. "That's not natural rock," Mara said. "No," Lila replied. "It's a hull." They spent the next 36 hours clearing debris. No heavy machinery, too risky. Just hand tools, suction vacs, and careful patience. By the second night, they exposed a section large enough to see symbols etched into the surface. They looked like ancient earth writing, maybe Sumerian, maybe something older, but mixed with strange geometric patterns that shifted slightly when stared at too long. Mara ran a gloved finger along one symbol. It warmed under her touch. Then the ship spoke, not with sound, not with voice, but with light. A line of soft blue glyphs flared to life across the hull, forming words in plain English. "We were first, and we will return." Both women froze, Lila's breath caught. "That's impossible. This ship is over 1,000,000 years old. Maybe 2. English didn't exist back then." "Not even close unless," Mara said slowly, "it was waiting for us. They called it in. Protocol demanded it." But Lila insisted on limited disclosure. Just the science director and Mars Command. She didn't want panic. She didn't want corporate scavengers or military contractors swarming the site before they understood what they'd found. But secrets don't stay buried on Mars, not when satellites watch everything. By dawn, 3 more ships hovered in low orbit. None were human. Lila recognized the markings. Galactic Concord, the alliance of 7 starfaring species that had welcomed Earth into the interstellar community just 50 years ago. They called humans young ones. They smiled politely. They traded technology, and they never ever let Earth near their war archives. Now one of their envoys was already descending in a sleek silver shuttle. Mara cursed under her breath. They moved fast. Lila felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Martian cold. "They're scared," she whispered. "Why would they be scared of a buried ship?" "Because," Lila said, "they know what it is." The Concord envoy landed 100 meters from the trench. It was tall, slender, with skin like polished jade and eyes that blinked sideways. It wore no armor, only a flowing robe marked with golden sigils. It introduced itself as Envoy Krell and asked to see the discovery. Mara refused entry. "This is a Terran site, under Martian sovereignty." "You need clearance," Krell tilted its head. "Your species does not understand what you have awakened. It is not yours to claim." "It is human," Lila said firmly. "The writing is ours. The design..." The envoy cut her off with a soft, mournful tone. "The design is older than your son, and it was meant to stay buried." That night, after Krell returned to orbit, Lila and Mara stayed by the trench. The wind had died. The stars above were sharp and countless. "Do you think they'll try to take it?" Lila asked. Mara stared at the dark hull. They'll try. But I don't think they know what they're dealing with. Lila knelt and placed her palm flat against the ship's surface. It was warm now, alive. She closed her eyes and felt something. Not a voice, but a presence. Ancient, patient, and fiercely protective. She pulled back, startled. "What is it?" Mara asked. "It knows we're here," Lila said, "and it's glad." Deep inside the ship, something clicked. A seal released. A hatch, circular and seamless, began to open with a whisper of escaping gas. No rust, no decay, just smooth motion as if it had been waiting for this exact moment. Mara drew her sidearm. Not that it would help against whatever this was, but Lila stopped her with a hand on her arm. "Wait," Lila said. "It's inviting us." They stepped inside. The interior was vast. Corridors curved upward into darkness, lit by faint veins of blue light running through the walls. The air was breathable, clean, cool, with a scent like ozone and old paper. Symbols glowed softly on every surface, shifting as they moved as if the ship was reading them. In the center of the main chamber stood a pedestal. On it rested a single object, a smooth black sphere about the size of a human head. Lila reached for it. "Don't," Mara warned. But Lila touched it anyway. Instantly, images flooded her mind. Not words, not sounds. Visions. A sky burning with 1,000 suns. A fleet of human ships, sleek, proud, terrifying, flying through shattered galaxies. A war so old that time itself seemed to bend around it. And then silence. Exile. A promise to sleep until the children returned. She gasped and pulled her hand away, stumbling back. Tears streamed down her face. "What did you see?" Mara asked, catching her. "Our past," Lila whispered. "We weren't born on Earth. We were sent there, hidden, to grow, to forget, and this ship is a guardian, and it's waking up." Outside, the wind picked up again, but this time it carried a new sound, a low, resonant hum that rose from the canyon floor and echoed off the cliffs. The ship was powering up, not fully, just enough to say, "I am here." In orbit, the Concorde ships shifted position. Their weapons powered on. On Earth, news feeds began to buzz with rumors of a mysterious energy surge on Mars. Governments scrambled. Scientists debated. And deep in military bunkers, old files marked first contact contingency were pulled from storage. But down in the trench, Lila and Mara stood inside the heart of something far older than nations, far older than species. "We have to protect it," Mara said. Lila nodded. "Not just protect it, understand it. Because if the Concorde is afraid, then this ship did something terrible once, or something magnificent. Maybe both." The hatch sealed behind them. The lights brightened. And for the first time in over 1,000,000 years, the ancient human ship beneath Mars began to remember what it was built for. And it chose its new crew. Buried beneath Mars, the ancient human ship that defied the galaxy Part 2, the news spread faster than dust in a storm. Within hours of the hatch sealing behind Lila and Mara, signals from Mars reached Earth. Not just official channels. Leaked footage, shaky helmet cam clips, whispers from orbital traffic control. Someone had seen the blue light. Someone had heard the hum. And someone had told the wrong person. By morning, the Galactic Concorde had sent not just envoys, but warships. 7 vessels hung in high orbit now, sleek and silent, shaped like curved blades. Their hulls shimmered with energy shields that bent starlight. They did not attack. They did not speak. They simply watched. And waited. On the surface, Mara tightened security. She called in every loyal officer from the Martian Defense Patrol. Drones patrolled the canyon rim, jamming fields, blocked unauthorized signals. But she knew it was only a delay. The Concorde did not ask twice. Inside the ship, now quietly named Aurora's Vengeance by Lila, the air felt different. Calmer, purposeful. The walls pulsed with soft light, as if breathing. The black sphere on the pedestal had vanished, absorbed back into the floor. In its place, a new interface glowed, a circular console with hand-shaped depressions. Lila placed her palms inside. Images returned, but clearer this time. Not just visions, memories. She saw humans not as Earthlings, but as Starwalkers. Tall, radiant, their skin marked with glowing lines like constellations. They built cities inside black holes. They sang to dying stars to keep them alive. And they fought a war not for land or power, but to stop something worse than death. something that fed on time itself. The Concorde's ancestors had tried to use that force, to control it, and humanity had stopped them. Not with bombs, but with silence. They erased their own empire, scattered their people across the galaxy like seeds, and buried their greatest ships deep in worlds that would one day grow new humans. Earth was not the cradle, it was the nursery. Lila pulled her hands away, trembling. We were never primitive, she told Mara. We chose to forget so we could begin again, without the weight of what we'd done. Mara stared at the console. Then why wake us now? Because they're back, Lila said. The ones who wanted to control time, the ones the Concorde still fears, and they're coming. Above them, the ship's outer shell rippled. Panels shifted. Hidden ports opened. The Aurora's vengeance was not just a tomb. It was a weapon, and it remembered how to fight. But Lila knew weapons were not enough. They needed proof. Truth. Something the Concorde could not deny. She called Zoe Kim. Zoe arrived 2 days later in a battered cargo hauler, her dark hair tied back, tools strapped to her belt. She was the best engineer on Mars, known for fixing fusion cores with duct tape and stubbornness. She also happened to be Lila's oldest friend, and the only person Lila trusted with secrets that could get them all killed. You found a what? Zoe said, stepping into the trench, eyes wide as she saw the ship. A human warship older than language, Mara said dryly. Zoe whistled. And it talks, it shows, Lila corrected. Come inside. Zoe did not hesitate. She walked into the Aurora's vengeance like she owned it. The ship responded instantly. Lights brightened along her path. A corridor opened that had been sealed before. It likes you, Mara muttered. Zoe grinned. I speak machine. Always have. For the next 48 hours, the three women worked without sleep. Zoe mapped the ship's systems using handheld scanners and raw intuition. She found power cores that ran on vacuum energy, drawing strength from empty space itself. She found weapons that didn't fire bullets or beams, but folds in reality that could untie matter at the atomic level. And she found the logs. Not files, not recordings. Bioneural imprints stored in crystal lattices woven into the ship's bones. To read them, you had to touch them, to feel them. Zoe placed her forehead against the central core. She saw the last captain of the Aurora's vengeance, a woman with eyes like galaxies, standing on this very bridge as her fleet burned around her. She saw her make the choice, bury the ship on Mars, lock its memory, and send a final message into the void. Let them grow in peace. Let them choose their own path, Zoe cried. Then she wiped her face and got to work. We can wake more, she said. This ship is a beacon. There are others, Lila nodded. But the Concorde won't let us. As if on cue, a voice echoed through the canyon. Amplified. Calm. Alien. This is High Arbiter Vextal of the Galactic Concorde. You have unearthed a relic of great danger. Surrender it, or we will cleanse the site. Mara stepped outside, helmet on, comms open. This is Captain Mara Ellis of Mars. This ship is human. It belongs to us. It belongs to no one. Vextal replied. It is a weapon of the old war. A war your species does not remember, but we do. It turned stars to ash. It unmade time. We will not allow it to rise again. You don't understand, Lila said, joining Mara. This isn't just a weapon. It's a warning. And a promise. Silence from orbit. Then, you have 6 hours. Back inside, Zoe was already at the console. If we power up fully, we can send the signal. The one that calls the others? How many others? Lila asked. Zoe's fingers flew over the interface. Dozens, maybe hundreds, buried across the solar system. Under ice, in asteroids, even inside the sun's corona. They've been waiting, but powering up will make us a target, Mara said. They're already targeting us, Layla replied. They made their choice. Zoe rerouted energy from the ship's sleep mode into its core systems. Lights flared brighter. The hum deepened into a steady thrum that vibrated in their bones. Outside, the red dust began to rise, not from wind, but from the ship's growing field. In orbit, the Concorde ships powered their weapons. On Earth, world leaders argued. Some demanded surrender, others whispered of rebellion. But no one knew the full truth. Only 3 women on Mars held it. As the countdown ticked toward 0, Lila stood at the main viewer. It showed the Concorde fleet cold and sharp against the stars. They think we're weak, she said. Because we're young. Because we forgot, Mara joined her. Let them think that. Zoe's voice came from the bridge. Ready when you are. Lila took a breath. Do it. Zoe pressed the final sequence. The Aurora's vengeance did not roar. It did not explode with light. It simply woke. A pulse of silent energy shot outward. Not destructive, but resonant, tuned to human DNA, to memory, to blood. Across the solar system, things stirred. Beneath the ice of Europa, a shape shifted. In the rings of Saturn, a dormant mass realigned. Deep in the asteroid belt, metal groaned as it remembered its name. And on Mars, the ship lifted, not with fire or thrust, but with grace. The ground cracked around it as it rose, smooth and silent, breaking free of its million-year tomb. Red dust fell away like old skin. The Concorde opened fire. Plasma beams lanced down from orbit, bright and deadly. But the Aurora's vengeance did not dodge. It simply all bent, space around it twisted, and the beams curved harmlessly into the void. Mara gripped the console. It's not fighting back, it's showing them, Lila said. Showing them what we can do. On the viewer, the Concorde ships faltered. Their formations broke. One vessel spun wildly, its systems glitching. Another powered down completely, as if in shock. They remember, Zoe whispered. They remember what happened last time. The Aurora's vengeance hovered above the canyon, whole and ancient. Its hull gleaming with starlight. It broadcast no threat, no demand, just presence. And in that moment, humanity was no longer the young ones. They were the return. High Arbiter Vexital's voice returned, softer now. Fearful. You do not know what you have awakened. We do, Lila replied, and we're just getting started. The ship turned toward the stars, not to flee, not to hide, but to answer the call it had sent somewhere far away. Another light flickered on, and the first war began again, not with screams, but with silence. The silence of a species that had once ruled the galaxy and had finally come home. Buried beneath Mars, the ancient human ship that defied the galaxy Part 5, the Voidwalkers did not speak. They did not demand surrender or issue threats. They simply appeared near Saturn and began to unravel time. Their ships moved through moments like ghosts through walls. 1 second a moon was whole. The next it was dust that had never formed. History blinked. Memories frayed. People on distant colonies woke up not knowing their own names. The Voidwalkers were not conquerors. They were editors, and they were rewriting reality to suit their will. On the bridge of the Aurora's vengeance, Lila watched the chaos unfold. Her face was pale but calm. Beside her, Mara gripped the edge of the console. Zoe worked furiously at the engineering station, trying to stabilize the ship's time field. They're not just attacking space, Zoe said. They're attacking cause and effect. If they win, nothing will have ever mattered. Lila nodded. Then we remind them what matters. The human fleet turned toward Saturn. The conquered ships followed. Their weapons charged not with plasma but with chronoton particles, designed to anchor time, not break it. For the first time in history, the two forces moved as one, but the Voidwalkers were ready. As the Allied fleet approached, the broken crown ship pulsed with dark energy. A wave of distorted time rolled outward. Ships flickered in and out of existence. Some appeared as rusted wrecks. Others as unborn dreams. Mara shouted orders. Hold formation. Anchor to the Aurora's signal. The ancient ship responded. It broadcast a steady rhythm, the sound of a human heart. Simple, constant, real. Any vessel that locked onto it stayed whole. Slowly, the fleet pushed forward. Lila knew they could not win by force. The Voidwalkers had twisted themselves beyond pain, beyond death. They had to be reached another way. She opened a channel, not to their ships, but to their minds. Using the Aurora's resonance field, she sent a memory, not a weapon, a gift. It was the moment humanity chose exile, not out of fear, out of love. The vision showed the last council of the first humans. They stood on a world of glass and light, watching the devourers stir. Some argued for war, some for control, but the majority chose silence, chose to scatter their children across the stars and let them grow without the weight of cosmic power. We do this not because we are weak, the memory said, but because we trust them to be better than we were. For a moment, the Voidwalkers hesitated. Their ship slowed. Their time waves softened. One of them broke formation. A smaller vessel, shaped like a weeping eye, drifted toward the Aurora's vengeance. A voice came through. Not alien. Not mechanical, but human. Old, tired. You show us what we forgot, it said. Who are you, Leela asked gently. I was Elira, the voice replied. I served on the first ring. I believed we should rule time, not hide from it. We thought we were saving humanity. Instead, we became its shadow. You can come back, Lila said. The silence is not a prison. It is a promise, and it is still yours to keep. Silence. Then, it is too late for us. Our bodies are gone. Our minds are woven into time itself, but we can help. Halby holding the door open. The weeping eye-ship turned and flew straight into the heart of the broken crown vessel. Light erupted, not bright but deep like the color of memory. The Voidwalker fleet shuddered. Their distortions ceased. For one clear second, time stood still, and in that stillness the exiles gave their final gift. They anchored the tier they had made, not with force but with surrender. They became part of the silence again, not as rulers, but as penitents. The broken crown ship dissolved into starlight. The other Voidwalker vessels followed one by one, fading like old photographs in the sun. Peace returned, not the empty peace of fear, but the living peace of understanding. On the Aurora's Vengeance, the three women stood together, watching Saturn's rings glitter in the calm. It's over, Mara said. No, Lila replied. It's just beginning. Back on Mars, the world held its breath. Then slowly people began to remember, not just facts but feelings. The warmth of a hand held in the dark.
The taste of rain.
The sound of a name spoken with love. The Voidwalkers had tried to erase meaning, but humanity had proven that meaning could not be destroyed, only forgotten, and remembering was the bravest act of all. In orbit, High Arbiter Vextile sent a final message. The Conquered Council has dissolved. In its place, a new alliance forms, the Guardians of the Silence, and humanity will lead it. Lila shook her head. Not lead, walk beside. That is the same thing now, Vextile said. On Earth, leaders argued less. Neighbors listened more. Children looked up at the stars not with fear but with wonder. The Aurora's Vengeance returned to Mars, not to be buried again but to rest. Its work was not done, but it could wait. Lila, Mara, and Zoe stepped onto the red soil once more. The canyon was quiet. The wind carried no threat, only dust and time. What now? Zoe asked. Now, Mara said. We teach, not just our people, all of them, that power is not control, it is care. Leela looked up at the sky. We were never alone. We just forgot we had family among the stars. And somewhere in the deep dark between galaxies the silence held, not empty, not dead, but full of waiting love. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors, not as gods, but as humans, flawed, kind, stubborn, and finally truly home, buried beneath Mars. The ancient human ship that defied the galaxy Part 4, the silence did not last. 3 days after the human fleet formed its ring around the solar system, the stars began to blink. Not randomly. In patterns. Like a signal. Like a countdown. Zoe was the first to notice. She had been monitoring deep space sensors from the Aurora's Vengeance bridge when the readings turned strange. Distant pulsars slowed. Background radiation dipped. Even the cosmic microwave echo, the oldest sound in the universe, grew quieter. It's not just space, she said, voice tight. It's time itself. It's thinning. Lila stood beside her, eyes fixed on the main viewer. Out there, beyond the orbit of Neptune, the void looked wrong, not empty. Hungry. Mara entered the bridge, armor on, face grim. The Concord fleet is pulling back. They're retreating to the Oort cloud. Good, Lila said. They finally understand they're not the enemy. They're scared, Mara corrected. And they should be. Zoe pulled up a new display. The prison is failing. The silence that held the Devourers is cracking. And whatever is inside, it's reaching out. The Devourers were not creatures in the usual sense. They had no bodies, no ships, no voices. They were absences. Holes in reality where time ceased to flow. Where memory ended. Where even light forgot its purpose. Humanity's ancestors had not fought them with weapons. They had woven a cage of stillness. A perfect, unchanging moment stretched across 1 billion light-years. And the ancient human fleet had been its anchors. Now the anchors were waking. But the cage was old, and it was breaking. Lila made a choice. We have to go to the edge. You mean the boundary? Mara asked. The place where the silence begins is. If we can reinforce it, we might buy more time. Zoe shook her head. It's not that simple. The boundary isn't a wall. It's a wound. And going near it changes you. I know, Lila said, but we don't have another option. The Aurora's vengeance turned away from Mars. Its sister ships fell into formation behind it. Europa's Leviathan, Mercury's Forge, the asteroid wolves, and dozens more that had answered the call from hidden graves across the system. Together they moved as one mind, one will. The Concord watched from afar. They did not interfere. They sent no messages. Only a single data packet, encrypted but unsealed. Inside was star charts, ancient ones, marked with human symbols. They were helping. As the fleet crossed the orbit of Pluto, space grew colder. Not in temperature, in feeling. The stars seemed dimmer, as if their light had grown tired. Comms began to glitch, not from interference but from missing time. Words would vanish mid-sentence. Seconds would skip. Zoe fought to keep the system stable. The ship is compensating, but it's using more power than I've ever seen. It's remembering how to hold time together, Lila said. Ahead, the boundary appeared. It was not a line or a wall. It was a ripple, like heat haze over desert sand, but in the fabric of existence. Beyond it, the stars were gone, not hidden. Erased. The Devourers were close. Mara stood at tactical. All ships report ready. One by one, the awakened fleet confirmed. No fear in their signals. Only resolve. Lila placed her hands on the console. Echo, she said, the name she had given the ship's AI, show me the wound. The viewer shifted. It showed not space, but time. And there, at the edge of the silence, a tear pulsed like a black heart. From it, tendrils of nothingness reached inward, dissolving moments as they touched them. We can't fight that, Mara whispered. We don't have to fight it, Lila said. We have to heal it. She activated the resonance protocol. Every human ship in the fleet began to hum, not with engines but with memory. They broadcast the oldest human songs, the first lullabies, the first prayers, the first stories told around fire. They sent the sound of a mother's heartbeat, the laugh of a child, the quiet courage of a farmer planting seeds in hard soil. The Devourers fed on stillness, but humanity offered something stronger, meaning. The tear in time shuddered. For a moment it seemed to recoil. Then it lashed out. A wave of null time rolled toward the fleet. Not fast, not violent, just empty. Ships caught in it would not explode. They would simply cease to have ever existed. Hold the line, Lila ordered. The Aurora's vengeance surged forward alone. Its hull glowed with silver light. It did not fire. It sang, and the song was old, older than words. It was the sound of humans choosing to care when the universe offered only chaos. The null wave slowed. Behind it, the other ships joined the song. Europa's Leviathan added deep harmonic tones from ocean depths that never were. Mercury's Forge rang like a bell forged in solar fire. The asteroid wolves howled in rhythms that matched Earth's oldest drums. Together, they wove a new silence, not empty. Full. The tear began to close. But it was not enough. Zoe's voice broke through the hum. We're losing power. The strain is too much. Then give it everything, Mara said. Lila closed her eyes, and she remembered not just her life, all of them. Every human who had ever loved, hoped, failed, tried again. She poured that into the ship. Into the song. The Aurora's vengeance blazed like a newborn star, and in that light the Devourers did not die. They slept, the tear sealed, the boundary held, but the cost was high. The Aurora's vengeance drifted dark and quiet. Its lights dimmed. Its song faded. Lila opened her eyes. We did it, barely, Zoe said, slumping in her chair. The fleet is stable, but we used almost all our reserves. Mara looked at the viewer. The stars were returning. Slowly, like memories coming back after a long dream. Then a new signal flashed. Not from the Devourers. From the Concord, High Arbiter Vextal's face appeared on screen. His usual calm was gone. His eyes were wet. You showed us what we lost, he said. Not just history, purpose. We thought peace meant control, but you taught us it means trust. He paused. The Concord Council has voted. We will stand with you. Not as rulers. As allies, Lila nodded. Thank you. But there is more, Vextal said. The Devourers are not gone. Only delayed, And they are not the only threat. What do you mean? During the First War, some of your ancestors did not believe in the silence. They thought the Devourers could be used, controlled. They vanished into the void and became something else. The Void Walkers, Zoe whispered, remembering a fragment from the logs. Yes, Vextal said, and they have returned. They do not want to destroy time. They want to own it. As he spoke, sensors screamed, not from the boundary, from behind them. Near Saturn, a new fleet emerged from folded space. Not conquered, not human. Their ships were twisted, part machine, part bone, part nightmare. They pulsed with stolen time, their hulls flickering between past and future. At their center flew a vessel shaped like a broken crown. And on its side, faded but clear, was a human symbol, the mark of the exiles. Mara stood tall. They're not aliens. They're us, the ones who chose power over peace. Lila's hands tightened on the console. Then we face them too. The Aurora's vengeance stirred, weak but awake. Around it, the human fleet reignited their lights, and this time the Concord ships moved to join them. Side by side, human and alien. Not as enemies, as guardians of time itself. Buried beneath Mars, the ancient human ship that defied the galaxy Part 3. The Aurora's vengeance hung in low orbit above Mars, silent and still. Below, the red planet turned slowly, unaware of the storm gathering in the void. Around it, the galactic Concord fleet hovered like wolves circling prey, but they did not attack again. Not yet. Something had changed. The moment the ancient ship rose from the canyon, something in the Concord broke. Not their weapons, their certainty. For centuries they had taught their young that humanity was new, soft, harmless, a species that barely understood warp theory, and still argued over borders on a single world. But the Aurora's vengeance did not obey physics as they knew it. It bent light. It ignored plasma fire. It moved without thrust, as if space itself parted for it. And worst of all, it carried no aggression, only authority. High Arbiter Vextal sent a new message. Not a threat this time. A plea. You do not understand the danger, the transmission said. That ship is not a guardian. It is a key. And if it wakes the others, the silence will end. Lila stood on the bridge, arms crossed, watching the Concord vessels flicker on the main viewer. What silence? The silence we made after the First War, Vexidal replied. The silence that keeps the Devourers asleep. Mara frowned. Devour Zoo, working at the engineering console, looked up. Old term, from pre-conquered myths. Beings that eat time, not destroy it, consume it. Leave nothing behind. Not even memory. Lila's blood ran cold. She remembered the visions. The war wasn't against the Concord's ancestors. It was against something worse. And humanity had stopped it. Not by killing it, but by locking it away in a prison made of stillness. A silence so deep even time could not move inside it. And the Aurora's vengeance was one of the locks. If we wake the other ships, Lila said slowly, we might break the seal. Exactly, Vextal's voice crackled. Your ancestors knew this. That is why they buried their fleet. That is why they made themselves forget. But why tell us now, Mara asked. Why not just destroy us? Because, Vextal said, if you die without understanding, the ship will wake anyway, on its own. And that would be worse. Silence filled the bridge. The weight of 1,000,000 years pressed down on them. Zoe broke it. They're lying. How do you know? Because I've been reading the ship's core logs. Deeper than before. The silence wasn't made to trap the Devourers. It was made to starve them. And it's working. But it needs maintenance. The ships aren't locks, they're wardens. And they've been asleep too long. Leela's eyes widened. So the Concord isn't afraid of us waking the Devourers. They're afraid we'll fix the prison and take back control, Mara added. The Concord had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years under the lie that they ended the First War. But the truth was they had only inherited a peace they did not earn, and they would do anything to keep it. Lila made a decision. Send the full signal. Wake every ship, are you sure? Zoe asked. If the Concord fears the truth more than the Devourers, then we have no choice. Zoe nodded and entered the command. This time, the pulse was stronger. Not just a whisper, it was a shout. Tuned to every frequency that carried human memory. It shot through the solar system like a heartbeat returning to a frozen body. Answers came fast. First from Europa, Beneath its icy shell, a shape the size of a mountain cracked the crust and rose, trailing steam in starlight. Its hull bore the symbol of a coiled serpent, a mark from Earth's oldest myths, then from the asteroid belt. A dozen smaller vessels, sharp and fast, peeled away from dead rocks that had hidden them for eons. They moved like wolves, forming a protective ring around Mars. Even Mercury answered, deep in its scorched core. A Ford ship stirred, its systems reigniting after a million years of slumber. It began crafting new parts, not for war, but for repair, for renewal. The Concorde panicked. Their fleet split. Half moved to intercept the Europa vessel. The other half powered up orbital cannons aimed at Mars. "They're going to glass the planet," Mara said. "Not if we stop them," Lila replied. The Aurora's vengeance moved. It did not fire weapons. It did not charge. It simply appeared in front of the lead Concorde dreadnought, as if it had always been there. The alien ship's sensors screamed. Its crew reported ghost echoes, phantom signals, and voices speaking in dead languages. Then its engines reversed, not damaged, not hacked. Reversed by command, as if the ship itself had decided to obey an older master. The dreadnought drifted backward, helpless as its crew shouted in confusion. One by one, the other Concorde ships suffered the same fate. Weapons misfired, shields inverted, navigation systems showed Earth as their home port. The Aurora's vengeance was not attacking, it was reminding. "You were once ours," the ship seemed to say, "and you remember." On the bridge, Lila watched the chaos unfold. She felt no joy, only sorrow. These aliens had lived their whole lives believing a lie. Now the truth was tearing them apart. Mara gripped her chair. "We can't let them destroy Mars, we won't," Lila said. "But we also can't let them keep lying." She opened a channel, wideband, unencrypted, sent to every human colony, every Concorde world, every listening ear in known space. "This is Dr. Lila Grant of Earth," she said, voice steady. "What you are seeing is not an invasion. It is a homecoming. Humanity did not begin on Earth. We were placed there after a war so old even stars have forgotten it. We chose to forget, so we could grow without the burden of our past. But that past is not gone. It is waiting. And it is ours." She paused. "The conquered has ruled by fear and secrecy. But we offer something else. Memory. Truth. And a choice." Then she showed them. Using the ship's archive, she broadcast the full record of the First War, not as data, but as shared experience. Anyone who watched felt the weight of it, the sacrifice, the love beneath the violence. On Earth, billions wept. On Vega 9, conquered citizens rioted in the streets. On the council world of Xylos, elders fell to their knees, whispering prayers in a language no one had spoken in 10,000 years. High Arbiter Vextal went silent. The fleet stopped fighting. In that stillness, the Aurora's vengeance turned toward the outer system, toward the dark, toward the place where the silence was thinnest. Zoe looked at her readings. "The prison is weakening. The devourers are stirring." "How long do we have?" Lila asked. "Weeks. Maybe days." "Then we don't have time for war," Mara said. "No," Lila agreed. "We have time for unity." She opened another channel, this time to the newly awakened ships. Not with commands, but with a simple request. Stand with us. Not as weapons. As guardians. The Europa vessel pulsed in agreement. The asteroid wolves howled across the comms. Even the Mercury Ford ship sent a single word in ancient Greek. Ready. Together, the human fleet formed a ring around the solar system. Not to attack. To watch, to wait, to hold the line. The Concorde could have struck then. They still had numbers. They still had firepower, but they did not, because for the first time, they saw humanity not as children, but as the ones who had once saved them all. And in the quiet that followed, something new began to grow. Not fear, not pride, but respect. Mara stood beside Lila at the viewport. "What now?" "Now," Lila said, "we prepare. The real enemy is not out there. It's beyond the edge of time, and it's waking up." The Aurora's vengeance hummed softly as if in agreement, and far away in the cold dark between galaxies, something ancient opened its eyes.